presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
Finally, it's back. And so are we, the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen on a Monday afternoon. Greetings and good afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show. Darren Goldwater, JB here till 2 o'clock. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. Make sure you've downloaded the app as well. It's pretty good for you high school footballers. We've got scores on there via a link. So if you've downloaded that app, it's free. You can always check out your favorite high school football teams. Head to jbandgoldwatershow.com for more information, and for more information on football in general and much, much more. Stick around, because finally the state of South Carolina will step onto the gridiron this week and get ready to roll. The Dogs, Gamecocks, Tigers, and pretty much everybody in between are ready to go. Football did start on Saturday. Many of you maybe watched some of those games, including, of course, Illinois and Nebraska, probably the headliner of those 5 that were played this weekend, at least at the FBS level. To help us out at 12:10 today, Perry Orth will join us generally in the 1 o'clock hour on Mondays. We've had to move him up a little bit today, and so he'll jump in here in just a few minutes. Wes Mitchell will follow at 12:30. Both, of course, will be covering South Carolina and this weekend's matchup against Eastern Illinois. And then at 1:30 this afternoon, Jeff Hartsell with the Post and Courier. How about the Citadel? They're just a few days away from hitting the road for Conway to take on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and kick off their 2021 season. We've got much more on college football. Obviously, some huge games this week. Clemson and Georgia is the head. That's where College Game Day is going to be later on this week. Later on this week, by the way, Grace Rayner will jump in with us. We've got the Braves. We've got some golf. I think it was like 80 under her thing is what won that tournament this weekend, and much, much more. So we hope that you'll stick around throughout the afternoon. But first and foremost, good afternoon to you, Mr. Penn State.
It is a good afternoon, and I appreciate WCBD, our NBC affiliate, actually carrying the golf yesterday, and it was awesome. It goes to 6 playoff holes. Cantlay was holding putts from like the tee box basically the entire day. That was awesome. It was good to see football, even though the start of Nebraska-Illinois, I don't know if I'd call it football, but it was a good game eventually, and now it's game week. And it's a huge game for Penn State, even though we're not going to talk too much about that one down here.
Yeah, well, it is. No, it is. Matter of fact, I saw this morning on the, I think it was CBS Sports, their season predictions, you know, who wins the national championship, playoff, overrated, underrated. And somebody in there had Penn State as the most underrated team in the country.
Well, Phil Steele has them as his, I don't think underrated. I think it's the team most surprising or most however he terms that. But he's got Penn State right there. Look, you're going to know right off the rip. You're going to know in week 1 how ready Penn State is. And I love what the Big Ten's doing. I mean, it's week 1. You got conference games all over the place, and you got Ohio State and Oregon play. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, it certainly is here finally. So Welcome back, football, especially here in the Palmetto State, Carolina and Carolina and Eastern Illinois at 7 o'clock Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. Much more on that here in a few minutes. Clemson, Georgia at 7:30 Saturday night there in Charlotte. You've got the Citadel and Coastal Carolina at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus coming up on Thursday. Those are obviously the headline games in the Palmetto State, but we'll talk about everybody throughout the day and throughout the week, obviously. As for what is the latest in Gamecock land, who's going to get the start at quarterback, there is not an official announcement on that yet, though we do expect it today. If at least expect it inside the program today. Maybe might not hear about it publicly till tomorrow, although generally these things do kind of trickle their way out. So I know that Shane Beamer said last week he'd like to have this done by Tuesday, and so we'll see. We'll see. But again, somebody is that I keep getting these questions all over the place. Who do you think? Who do you think? At the end of the day, again, not to discount Eastern Illinois, I don't like to hope, but I also think that it doesn't matter necessarily. Although it would tell you who's won the job, guy that just got a GA tag taken off of him, or a guy who's been in the program for a few months coming from from St. Francis and Jason Brown. So it's definitely going to be a conversation we're going to have a lot before and after the decision is made. Kind of give you a quick reminder on what's ahead this week. And again, what's ahead here on our show is Perry Orth in about 3 minutes as he'll start us off on game week as we talk about Gamecock football. But coming up on Wednesday, keep in mind, everybody, today, tomorrow, these are the only 2 days that you don't have college football. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you got it. And on Wednesday night on ESPN, UAB and Jacksonville State will play in the Montgomery kickoff. And then on to Thursday night, and it's a good lineup, and it's a meaningful lineup for the state of South Carolina, first and foremost, because 2 Palmetto programs will be competing in Conway in the Citadel and 22nd ranked Coastal from Brooks Stadium, ESPN Plus. But then also you've got East Carolina on ESPNU at App State in Duke's Mayo Classic. And when I say at App State, ECU is the visitor, but that game's being played at America Stadium in Charlotte. And currently the Mountaineers are 10.5-point favorites over the Pirates. Elsewhere on Thursday night, again, some notable games, and probably the most notable for 2 maybe future Big 12 teams is Boise State and Central Florida at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Would one of them like to be the talk of the G5 this year? Who knows? We'll see. But Gus Malzahn is going to obviously make his debut. Boise State, Brian Harsin, he ain't there anymore. He's over on the plains at Auburn getting fired up and ready to go for a 5-win season. I'm just kidding. And then you've also got South Florida. Jeff Scott's going to make his debut with the Bulls on the ACC network at 7:30 on Thursday night at NC State. And you've also got Tennessee, Josh Heupel making his debut as the head coach of the Vols. They'll host Bowling Green. They should bowl right over Bowling Green. And then Minnesota will host 4th-ranked Ohio State at 8 o'clock on Fox in a nationally televised game. 14-point favorites are the Buckeyes there. So that's a little bit of a rundown, Darren, on Thursday night football this week.
Look, I mean, I didn't realize it right off the rip, but Ohio State and Minnesota going on Thursday night also. And so there's a lot to whet your appetite. I mean, you mentioned that there is the game on Wednesday, but Thursday has a lot that can really whet your appetite. And then when you look ahead to Saturday, look at this. You got 5 different ranked versus ranked matchups as you look all the way ahead to Saturday. It's not like we're just tiptoeing our way into football season. We're like jumping head first into football season. So it's an awesome way to open up.
Absolutely. Meaningful games matter a lot. And then, of course, on Friday night, Darren, with that Virginia Tech North Carolina game at 6, it's not just meaningful to the ACC itself, because North Carolina is, trying to scratch their way towards the top of the conference. They'd like to be a contender with Clemson, but where's Virginia Tech under Justin Fuente? Where are they? I mean, are they an upper echelon team in that league? Are they a program that can knock somebody off? That can they beat Miami? Can they beat North Carolina? Can they cause problems? They don't play Clemson this year. Can North Carolina be an outsider, kind of knocking on the door of the college football playoff if everything goes their way this year? Sam Howell is a Heisman candidate, so a lot of pretty neat talking points in week one this year, and we all know what the big games are this weekend, of course, headlined by Clemson and Georgia. But this guy didn't play for any of those teams. He played for the Gamecocks. He'll generally join us in the 1 o'clock hour on Monday afternoons. Former quarterback Perry Orth. Perry and I have been doing Monday after the ball game type stuff, I think, for 3 or 4 years now, my friend. But first and foremost, glad to have you, and happy 2021 Gamecock football season. What's up?
It is here, man. I'm finally sitting in, strapping in, getting ready to rock and roll and watch some college football, and especially our beloved Gamecocks, to see if they can fire the engines up and have a good year.
Well, so they start with Eastern Illinois, Perry, and we all know this. What does that mean to you? Not a new program, but new leadership. Shane, most of these coaches are fresh in year one with Gamecock football, although many of them, of course, know the program very well, like Eric Kimry and Pat DeMarco. Mike Peterson's been around a while. Justin Stepp grew up going to Gamecock games. We all know those stories. But collectively as a staff, this is their first year. They've taken in a bunch of transfers. They've tried to recoup and rebuild as quickly as they could. And they open with an opponent at the FCS level that they feel very comfortable about being able to control the football game, win it comfortably, and get ready to go to Greenville, North Carolina. So when you take all that into consideration, what does week one mean to you? What are we watching for?
Yeah, I think week one, it's not too far off than every week one. When you open with a lesser opponent, you want to see a good, clean game, not a lot of penalties. You want to see the ball being moved up the field, up and down, tackling well on defense, not turning it over on offense, and just look like a well-coached football team. Even if you don't win 56-10 or whatever, you may win 28-3 kind of a game, or something that where the game's always in control. We're moving the ball up and down the field. Guys are making plays in space, and you look at the team and you say, you know what, we have a chance to make some noise this year. Not noise as in national title, but noise as in you're going to win the games you're supposed to, and you're going to play hard and compete in some of the bigger ball games that you have. So that's what I would like to see.
So we don't know necessarily, at least publicly, who's going to be starting quarterback, Perry. I think we all are under the assumption right now that Luke Doty more than likely won't play in this ball game, and it will probably be Nolan's or Jason Brown's to start. And then I think there's the thought out there that if things go well, that you could see 2, if not 3 quarterbacks or more, maybe even in the opener, depending on what happens for the Gamecocks. So starting with that QB position, obviously you played it. You understand what these guys have been doing to prepare. What are you most interested in?
Again, I hate to sound redundant, but I want to see a quarterback go out there and look like he understands what Coach Satterfield is trying to accomplish in the game. And what I mean by that is I want to see the ball being moved up and down the field, getting the ball out of your hand quickly, making good, quick, decisive decisions, and taking care of the ball. The rest will come the more reps they get throughout the course of the year. And I'd love to be able to be in a position where all 3 of the guys that have been competing each and every day during camp got a chance to play, right? I'd love to see Colton Gauthier get in there and chunk it around. I expect to see both Jason Brown and Zeb in there on Saturday, but I'd love for it to get to a point where you can trot out the freshmen and let them run around and play a little bit and start getting some experience, later in the ball game, so that whenever his time comes, he's ready to go. But if I was a betting man, I'd go ahead and bet on Zeb to be the first guy to trot out there, but then Jason Brown to follow shortly after.
All right, so we know what stands in the backfield. There's also a thought that Kevin Harris probably won't play this week. Could he? I think he could. I mean, Shane said last week that he could probably run him out there if they needed to, Perry, but you don't expect South Carolina to need Kevin Harris to win the game. But the rest of those guys are pretty good. We all know what the expectations are that surround Marshawn Lloyd. We saw Rashad Amos at the end of last year. Zaquandre White he's a lightning rod, and he's a guy that, had he not been loose and careless with the football at times early in his career, even back to Florida State, but definitely here at South Carolina, probably would have seen him toe a little bit more the last year or two. So you got Juju McDowell. I mean, there's a lot there. That's the base. We still haven't seen the receiving core. We know some of what's there. We know what's emerged. We know that they're talented at tight end, and they like those guys. But we truly know that the running back group is really good, and the guys up front, they're pretty good. So what road does that lead you down when it comes to how this thing will kind of work itself out offensively for Carolina? What do you? I know we expect to see something, but what are they leaning on at least early, and how will this game plan maybe unfold in your mind?
Well, yeah, I think a big piece of the way that we're going to be successful this year is the way we run the football. So while Kevin Harris is out, we need all hands on deck, with Marshawn Lloyd, Juju, and then obviously, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. The fellow you just mentioned. So
Rashad Amos.
Right. So
that was Zaquandre. Yeah.
It needs to be. It's going to be a running back by committee. And every time let me back up. Anytime you have 3 to 4 running backs that are all good enough to play, it makes it so easy for an offensive coordinator to want to run the football, because you can just interchange your guys and you're always running fresh legs. And when they're all capable, it helps you a lot. And then when you can see success in the run game, it only opens up the pass game. It really does, because again, it requires another defender to move into the box for run support. Then and there, you're getting one-on-one matchups outside, and you're able to take shots downfield when they're there. You're also able to get quick game off, because teams are typically going to be playing, to start the season at least, are going to be playing off coverage a little bit, because they don't want to get beat. They don't want to have people throwing go balls over their head, to start the season. So to find the balance that we're looking for, I think we have the pieces there for it. We do, changing gears, we do need someone to emerge as the elite receiver on our team to say, hey, when it's time to throw the ball, we are counting on, this guy be, our guy that we're trying to get the football to when it's, 3rd and 7, and we've got to convert. So, the run game helps the pass game and vice versa, but with the stable of running backs that we have, and the quality of offensive linemen that we have and the experience they have, it bodes well to have a very solid run game this season, as long as everybody can stay healthy.
Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina. All right, so put the headset on, Perry. You do that now on Friday nights, coaching over there at AC Flora. You're used to it these days. So put the headset on here with Coach Sat and the rest of that offense and Coach Beamer. How do you call a game like this? All right, you got East Carolina coming up, and then you got Georgia, and then you got Kentucky. How do you call a game like this, Eastern Illinois? And specifically what I'm asking here is, there's always the thought by fans, well, you don't want to show too much, but then there's the thought of, well, we need to go out there and kind of try to execute the things they've been working on for the last month or so. So how do you call this game?
Yeah, I mean, that right there is it, in my opinion. You want to practice and rep in the game the same things that you've been repping in practice. Be good at what you do, whatever it is that you do, whatever your offensive philosophy is. Be good at that, right? Let's use our team at AC Flora. We run the football. There's no hiding behind it. We're going to play 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and we're going to come downhill at you. When the passing game's there, we'll throw it. But if it's a tweener where you could run it or pass it, we're going to run the ball. We got a big, strong offensive line, and we run it well. Not very different than what we're looking at with South Carolina. I mean, whatever our philosophy is, go out there on Saturday and run what you run and do it well. Rep it over and over and over again. That's one thing I liked about Coach Spurrier's play calling is when something works, don't call it once and say, oh, man, that worked great. Call it again. I mean, there are numerous times where he would call the same pass play 7-8 times throughout the course of the game. And it's, why would you not call it? If it's going to work, then call it, So for me, if I was in the booth with them attempting to call plays, I would establish, and it sounds so cliche, but I really would. I would establish a run game early, do my best to get to midfield with a 1st and 10 look, and then take a shot, right? Give the fans something to cheer about. Give your team that spark that, you know what, man, we can run the ball, but then we can also take shots down the field. It was something, just a way to set the tone for the year. And then also just to get an early lead, to get the confidence going, when the defense trots out there, or they go out there for the second time, to know you're up 7-0 early. I think that would go a long way for us in our confidence, because I've said it on your show before, confidence is key, especially in football.
So I guess what I'm hearing from you here, my old pal, is worry about yourself. If somebody else watches the tape and they see something that's in the arsenal, they're going to have to figure out how to play that, whatever. But worry about you. Go out there in week 1 and do the things that you feel like you can do. Try to do the things that you feel like you can do. And who cares what Georgia or East Carolina or anybody else sees on tape?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, you are who you are. I mean, if there's a few different sets or, specialty plays or formations, yeah, hold off on that. But I would like to believe that we can go out there in a pretty vanilla package, run the plays that we've been repping all camp, and be pretty successful at it this weekend. I really believe that. If not, then this year we're going to be in a world of hurt. But I really do believe that we're capable of being consistent in how we run our offense, taking care of the football, while also having some explosive plays to show off for a very eager fan base.
Have you had a chance at all recently to catch up with Coach Beamer?
I have not. No, I just briefly, tried to get some updates on how practice was going from some folks, but nothing too informative. I do know that everybody has a lot of energy. Everybody's just really, really excited for game day, as you would think. But the one resounding thing that I keep hearing over there is that there's so much positivity and there's so much energy brought by the coaching staff and now the players each and every day, that it's just an infectious environment to be in. And it's a much more enjoyable place to work than it had been.
12:23 on a Monday afternoon. Perry Orth here on the JB and Goldwater show. What's this week like, Perry, as a player? Opening week of the season, no matter who you're playing. What was this like for you? What do you remember about it?
Yeah, you're just eager to get out there on the field and play. I mean, you've been practicing all August, and camp can just be a drag at times when you're doing the same thing every single day for 26 straight days. You're ready to get out there, get the season underway. You're ready to kind of get that monkey off your back and get in the win column, and then just get back out on the field, get in front of a full Williams-Brice. It's just a lot of built-up excitement, and not anxiety, but just like I think excitement's the proper word, because you're just ready. You've been playing football your whole life, and anytime you can play on a big stage in front of a bunch of people on TV, and it's the first home game, it's going to be just an electric atmosphere to start the game. It's just a really just an awesome it's an awesome week in preparation. Game day is an awesome day. It's just I'm glad that football's back in South Carolina.
Yeah, it's generally when you look at a schedule and you go, we start with Eastern Illinois. Again, no offense to those the Fighting Tony Romos of the world, but their jersey doesn't have the same weight that somebody in the SEC or somebody in the ACC, or for that matter, if it was East Carolina, has on it, or Troy down the line. It's Eastern Illinois. I mean, I think everybody kind of looks at this, and 9 out of 10 times they go, well, that's just not that big of a game. Whatever. We'll kind of go through the motions. We all know what that's like, Perry. We've been in plenty of these games. The energy's not there like it would be when Tennessee's in town or something like that. But yeah. I don't think that's going to be the case on Saturday night, because I obviously with Shane taking over, it's not just that what Shane has taken over as the head coach and this staff. I think it's what they've done the last 8 months. I mean, they've tried to do everything they could, very public or positive publicly about the future of this program. I think there's people that they could care less if Wando was walking in there on Saturday night. Gamecock fans have been searching for a breath of fresh air and new energy, and they don't really care who the opponent's going to be this week. It reminds me of 20 years ago. You didn't really care who was on the other sideline. It was just Carolina football, and you just couldn't wait to go sit down and watch it.
Yeah, and I think that's even more evident this year, especially after everything with COVID. It's not about the other team. You know, we won't have the same energy throughout the entire course of a game like you would if you were playing Tennessee or Georgia or Florida. But initially, the warm-ups, 2001, that first sandstorm, that first touchdown, that first third down stop on defense, it's going to be electric, man. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, man. It's just going to be an awesome time for our team and our coaches, and thankful that we get to open up with a lesser team to get some momentum and get some confidence heading into week 2, which is, in my opinion, the biggest game on our schedule, because we need to be able to show everyone that we're capable of playing and doing what we're supposed to do.
That's great. A lot of people overlooked. They keep looking at that G in week 3, and they forget that a road trip to Greenville comes 7 days prior too. All right, final question. We've been talking a lot about the offense, Perry. We've discussed a lot of these offensive guys the last couple of weeks with you. I know you're excited to see many of them play. But on the other side, if you were going to try it out as the quarterback for any opposing team this year against the Gamecocks, who would you keep your eyes on the most on the defensive side of things for South Carolina? Who strikes the most fear into the quarterback's heart?
Yeah, it's got to be one of the defensive linemen, in my opinion. And you got to go with JJ Engenbare. How do you say that? I don't even know how to say it. I wish that our good players had easier names to pronounce. No, I'm just kidding. But no, man, he's obviously a top 15 pick that people are very excited about. I'm excited to see him play. He's a locker room guy, which, it's unfortunately rare to see nowadays when you have your best players are good team locker room guys. You don't see a ton of that now. But having him get out there and rush the passer, he's going to be huge this year. I'm also excited to see the kid from Georgia State. He had a great year last year, and I hope that can transition into this higher level of football.
I think he's made some noise. Perry. Michael Flint thinks that they might end up using him at linebacker some here and there for a multitude of reasons. So we'll kind of see how that unfolds. I know this. We got to let you run, but you're as excited as anybody for Gamecock football. I'll be up this weekend. I'll give you a shout, and we'll try to catch up if we can, maybe on Saturday somewhere around the ballpark. QB1athletics.com. Anybody that wants to be trained as a quarterback, there's literally nobody in the state that can train you better than Perry. I think Bailey Hart's down here training in Charleston for you, and he's absolutely exceptional. QB1athletics.com. Perry, go Cox, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Glad to be back, and glad football's back.
Always. No doubt. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. There you go, Perry Orth, former quarterback of the South Carolina Gamecocks. And Monday's generally in the 1 o'clock hour, Darren, but it's had to move him around a little bit this week. QB1athletics.com. Remember, Perry's also coaching over there at AC Flora. So if you're in the Midlands area looking for high school football on Friday nights, maybe try to dial up the Falcons schedule.
You can hear them, too. In fact, a familiar name around the Charleston area, Lee Glaze, is their radio voice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you can...
That's Scott's uncle.
Yeah. So you can listen to Perry Orth's game calling while Lee Glaze calls the game.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's a nice little nugget there. Speaking of calling games, you did a nice job on Friday night. I thought when Wando was up 16-0, I thought, oh, God, 59 more points, and I'm on the money here. It was a pretty ugly game.
It was it left a lot to be desired. It was it was ugly. It was pretty fitting that the lights on one end zone were just out because the football was not in the hands off. I mean, both teams had an issue just getting the ball to the quarterback. It was tough. There was a lot of injuries. It was not the easiest way to slowly ease back into calling football games this year. It was rough.
At least you got to be in the booth though.
Yeah, it was good to be there.
You and Darren and Dean Stevens on Friday nights. Well, and we got to give them a little bit of credit. COVID interrupted a lot of these teams and things like that preseason. I mean, it was tough. Wando didn't even have their quarterback in there.
No,
for goodness sakes. My cousin is a junior at Wando. He's on the football team, and he gave me some inside little nuggets. So I have a clue of what's going on over there. But at the end of the day, go Wando.
Yeah, the backup kid played well. He's probably going to be starting for a decent amount of time, but he played very, very well. And Des Loring is a good little player. Yeah, I don't know how good Wando's going to be throughout the year, but Des Loring is a good little player.
Yeah, Wando's always got good running backs, man. Dez is no different, no doubt. All right, well, we got to step aside, hit a quick timeout. When we return back to Columbia, Gamecock Central's Wes Mitchell continues kickoff week here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. 12:33. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, stokesvw.com. The next 30 minutes, the handsome Wes Mitchell will get us ready to rock and roll for football season. Maybe he's even got a quarterback update at South Carolina. But Wes, nonetheless, finally, it has arrived. Even though we thought it all had arrived on Friday, February 20th at the big Gamecock Central kickoff party, this is actually the week it starts. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up? Game week is here. We made it. Hallelujah. Time to talk some real ball, huh?
You don't want to talk about the Alliance? Let's do that again.
Let's not. Let's not and say we didn't.
Yeah, 100%. I am in line with that. All right. What are you hearing? Who's going to start game 1 at QB?
Yeah, still nothing official. I think it's kind of on the lines of what we've been saying for a while now. I think it's trending towards Zeb Nolan. They have taken this thing really to about the last possible point that you can. I would think they'd probably do something tomorrow as far as an announcement. You have the Tuesday press conference. That's just sort of me guessing there. But, it's been down to Nolan and Jason Brown. Nolan has taken a bunch of first-team reps. From what I understand, he was the first guy out there on Saturday with sort of the little, I don't know what you call it, walkthrough mini scrimmage type thing. It was part of their mock game week. That's got to be a pretty strong sign, I would think. You don't really give a bunch of first team reps to a guy, if he's probably not going to be your guy, I feel like. So, we'll see. I guess it's still possible there could be a surprise, but we've been operating like Zeb Nolan's going to be the guy in game one.
What matters more, Wes? Who starts at quarterback game one, or what happens around him? I mean, are you more focused this week in this ball game Saturday night on? I mean, we're all going to be focused on how the QBs play, especially if Luke Doty's not in there, which he probably won't be. Or are you more focused on the wide receivers and the tight ends and how those guys perform? Because obviously they could be a big help to whoever's playing quarterback.
Yeah, I think this decision is going to come down to which guy can just distribute the football, get South Carolina in and out of plays, command the huddle, show leadership ability, not turn the football over, and get the ball to all those guys you're talking about. I mean, you've got a bunch of receivers that are I think, looking forward to showing what they can do, looking forward to showing that they've made improvements, a running back room that I think is really, really good and has several guys, even with Kevin Harris missing all that time this preseason. I mean, you still have, 3 guys. I think South Carolina feels really, really good about at the running back position. And then, of course, we've talked about the tight ends all offseason. So, I watched Eastern Illinois on this past Saturday. This is a game South Carolina absolutely should win. I don't think you're really putting them in any type of upset alert or anything like that. To me, this battle has always been about, once Doty was out, it's always been about who can just not make mistakes and get the ball to these other guys. And my interpretation, my impression from what I've heard is that Nolan has been that guy.
Who starts at running back?
Good question, man. I probably lean Zaquandre White. I think a couple weeks ago that definitely would have been the case. I haven't heard anything recently to tell me differently or to confirm that, because it's kind of, from what I've heard, there's been a lot of shifting around at that spot. And, Marcus Satterfield, I think, even mentioned it last week. Like, there's so many guys that have mixed in there with the ones. But Zaquandre's had an excellent offseason, taking advantage of his opportunities. I really think, and we'll see how much they get out of Kevin Harris. I don't think you really rush to get him a ton of reps on Saturday anyway. Maybe just get him some light reps potentially if he's cleared. But, Zaquandre White, Marshawn Lloyd, Juju McDowell, I expect all 3 of those guys to get a ton of opportunities. Maybe it doesn't even matter who actually starts, but right. I wouldn't be surprised. I was sort of looking through the depth chart or thinking through the depth chart in my head. And I was like, man, I can probably predict most of these spots, but running back, I would sort of be guessing a little bit, but yeah, I was told a couple of weeks ago that, if the season started today, it would probably be Zaquandre White. So I guess I'll stick to that until I'm told any different.
Might be. I mean, although there might be one starter listed, Wes, I think there's a pretty decent chance you might see 2 of them out there a lot, not just in the first play of the game, but you might see 2 of them out there throughout the ball game. You hearing any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of 2 tights at times. I think you're going to see a lot of 2 running backs at times. They've talked all offseason about how you have to find a way to get to build the offense around what your guys do well and the personnel that gets the best guys on the field. So right now, that's running backs, that's tight ends. I'm sure we're going to see some what you're, I guess, classic now, like 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. Pretty much everybody runs quite a bit of that these days. I'm sure we'll still see some of that, but I imagine a lot of 2 tights and like you said, maybe some split back stuff. I mean, if you look, obviously, the way some of these tight ends are built, it's kind of like having 3 receivers out there as well. So I think, you have the ability to have some diverse things there as far as the looks you give opponents because of the depth at running back and the depth at the tight end room. And the good thing for South Carolina is really, I think all those guys have pretty different skill sets from each other, which, allows you as an offensive staff, as a play caller, to try and do some different things to keep opponents guessing.
We were just talking to Perry, and you obviously know Zaquandre White's background pretty well in covering the Gamecocks for Gamecock Central. He's had an interesting career, and he's a kid that when he first got to school, Wes, before last season, that I personally really liked him. You know, we talked to Coach Muschamp about him a little bit, Darren, if you remember that conversation. And, you know, he was electric was the word that was always used about this kid. But we all knew what the issue was. He couldn't hold on to the rock. And, you know, remember when he was at Florida State, West, they had moved him to linebacker, and he did get some carries down there, but it just kind of didn't work out. And then he went to JUCO. So he's kind of been all over the place. And now he might be the starting tailback, at least for a game or two at South Carolina. Nonetheless, he's going to play a lot. Had he not had all these issues with holding on to the football, what do you think? Not that it matters necessarily, but just to kind of give people a little bit more of an inside scoop on who this is as a talent. What type of conversation do you think this would be if he never had issues with just dropping the football?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the fact that, dude, if you don't hold them to the ball, coaches just aren't going to play you because they can't risk having game-changing turnovers, you know. But as far as the talent, the ability to go out there to bring some speed to the position, to make people miss, he's almost one of those guys that you have to make sure to sort of get him into a north-south mindset because he can sort of bounce around on you. Is one of these guys who has the ability to sort of juke you, like kind of old school. Like he's a guy that can catch the football out of the backfield. Really, if you just look at the skill set, he can do it about all as long as he's holding on to the football. So I think coming in, you know, he was literally the top JUCO running back in the country according to the Rivals rankings. So that tells you the guy was very highly regarded. He was very highly regarded out of high school as well. Got caught in sort of a loaded Florida State backfield as well. And so, you know, all those things play in. There's only so many guys that can get the football. And he made some tackles playing linebacker at Florida State, which I think tells you a little bit about his toughness and just overall athleticism to just be thrown into that position. And I think he made 20 or so tackles, which is not easy to just go do at the major college football level. So I think some of this too is just rewarding a guy who has brought constant, consistent energy in every single thing that he does. So it's not just for game days. He's bringing energy to practice. He's bringing energy to the weight room. He's bringing energy to the other sort of team building activities that they have. And that is the type, you know, we use the word culture all the time, but that's the type of culture that Beamer and Luke Day and those guys are trying to build. So I think it makes sense on a big picture standpoint. Does it matter who starts when you get into the game and stuff like that? Probably not. But as far as rewarding a guy for doing everything the right way and letting him see his name come across that video board as a true starter, to me, that makes sense. Again, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that seems to be the way it's been trending.
All right, so we'll kind of do this in sections here. Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central joining us. We're about to flip to the defensive side of the football, but before we get there, you do have a former Gamecock who's going to contribute in some coverage this year with Gamecock Central on the offensive side of the football. Who's that?
Yeah, we have a couple of those guys. Offense, Nick Jones is going to be joining us. We're actually talking. We're in talks with a couple of other former players who may be helping us out as well. And then as we go to the defensive side, Sherrod Golightly will be providing his insights. So we're continuing to expand our coverage and just want to bring on guys who can maybe bring some insight that goes a little bit above and beyond what any of us can do, and just that they've been on the field at the SEC level and have played ball, and both those guys actually played quite a bit of ball at South Carolina. So I'm very excited to have both those guys on to contribute and provide analysis on Gamecock Central this year.
Well, both of those guys, Wes, and you know this as much as anybody out there, they worked their asses off to get where they were. I mean, certainly had some talent. Not the biggest dudes in the world, but Sherrod Golightly was just excellent in the secondary, and Nicky Jones, you have to call him Nicky. Yeah, they had Nicky caught a few balls out there on Saturday. Best friends with Marcus Lattimore, obviously growing up. That's gonna be wonderful coverage. Really looking forward to that. All right, so on the defensive side, they can't just put a jersey on Sherrod Golightly, although they probably would like to do that. This is probably. I think, Wes, and I've been kind of reading some of your reporting as well at Gamecock Central, so I think we all are kind of in the same ballpark here with who we might think starts at corner. I kind of look at that as much more important than the tailback situation or even the quarterback situation, to be honest with you, because of what's coming down the road. There's just not a lot of experience back there. Not expecting Eastern Illinois to light up the night. Romo is not going to show up and play for the Panthers, I don't think. But East Carolina can throw the ball around. That Allers kid he's been there since the late 90s, and he's thrown about 10,000 yards or something ridiculous in his career. We know what lies ahead in week 3. That's JT Daniels, a Heisman candidate in Athens, Georgia. You got Kentucky with the kid formerly at Penn State. Darren can tell you all about him, but we're not going to bore you with that. Tennessee's going to toss the rock around all year long. A&M, Florida, Clemson, yada, yada, yada. They can all throw the football. So that's where a lot of this concern is. So who do you think starts at corner specifically Saturday night? And what matters about that? What are we looking for?
Yeah, I think this is a tune-up game for those guys. Let's be honest. I mean, I watched some of Eastern Illinois on Saturday. They can do some things. Every football team in the country can do some things, but I think this is the perfect first game for these guys. Honestly, you're really happy if you're a South Carolina fan. You're not opening with UNC or NC State or even ECU. For that matter. So this is a great tune-up for those guys. I expect right now you'd have to say Darius Rush and Marcellus Dial will be the starters at cornerback. Still waiting on indications on Cam Smith. But even then, those guys have gone through the entire preseason. Every time we've been out there, that they've been the first teamers at cornerback. You still have a little bit of a battle at nickel. I'll sort of throw that into this conversation as well, the nickelback spot with David Spalding. And then, of course, Carlin Splittell there. They've had there's been some guys who have been banged up at that position too. So we'll see who ends up on top there. But as far as the pure cornerback spot, this is an opportunity for Darius Rush. He has taken advantage of it. He's made some plays in practice. He's always been, I remember when he came out of high school, the book was, this is a tall, long, athletic kid. It's just going to be about, he's coming from a smaller school, didn't play great competition, and, is going to be in a position to hopefully develop and ultimately make an impact. So you pull for guys like Darius Rush because he's a great kid, great family, and has stuck it out. And really it's been more of an old school approach, not, well, I'm not playing right off the bat, so I'm just going to leave. He's stuck it out, has developed. Now he has an opportunity in front of him. We'll see if he can take advantage of it. But he is as comfortable, as confident as I've ever seen him be out there. So I think that's a good sign for that position. Obviously, with these things, as you said, it's sort of, there are levels to this, and there are matchups. So yes, it makes sense for fans to have the secondary. The secondary is going to be a question until it's not. Once you see these guys match up, you go ahead, throw safety in there as well. It's okay to question those positions because that'll be the case until they're not. And there will be some matchups this year that probably you don't like South Carolina's chances on paper. I think that's when it goes back to, putting a little pressure on this defensive line. They're going to have to maybe make up for some of that by making some plays up front.
Got a couple of questions here. Craig asking about Tyrese Ross. We know that he's ascended up the depth chart. I'm quite confident he's going to play Saturday night, Wes, but has he gone far enough to start?
I think I'll say first, we'll see. I think he's pushing hard. I would not be surprised if Ross starts on Saturday. You really have kind of like three guys for two spots there right now for the starting position. So generally that's something that's going to maybe even go into Thursday as far as who actually gets the call as far as a starter. But yeah, I think Ross is pushing hard. He's probably got a great chance to start on Saturday. And I saw the other question was about Jalen Dickerson. He's been in there with the second team as well. The second team guys at various points in camp have been Ross, Dickerson, and then at times Jamar Brown has been in there with the second team as well. So we'll see exactly how all that plays out. There's some jockeying for playing time at that spot, I think. So, but Ross, this guy brings an enforcer's mindset to that position, which is always good. That's something you need. That's something South Carolina hasn't particularly had. I think he's going to have to get a little more consistent as far as from what Clayton White has said, missing tackles. Sometimes when you go for that big shot, you forget to wrap up and stuff like that. So I think that'll always be a part of this conversation with Ross. But it appears that was a very smart add by the coaching staff to get Ross into the mix and to add him out of the transfer portal. And he's got quite a bit of eligibility left as well. So he's not one of these guys where you're bringing him in and he only has a year, only has a couple of years. He's got a pretty, I guess it's probably 3 years available of eligibility. So that's a good thing there as well.
That's interesting. A lot of RJ Roderick's issue the last couple of years, the last few years. I mean, RJ's been here since the Holtz era. It seems like, I'm just kidding, RJ, but that was some of his issue, Wes. I mean, he's a big knocker. He's a pretty physical guy, but he get a little sloppy out there, right? He misses a tackle here and there, and you're going, my God, what just happened? He was trying to take the guy's eyeballs out of his head, and dude ended up 30 yards past him. So let's hope that's not the case. Real quick, and then I want to get to the fans. But nobody's been talking about the kicking game, and that includes me. Maybe you have. Parker White, you talk about somebody being here since the Holtz era. He's been around forever. How valuable is this? Parker White, the special teams unit, the kicking game, most importantly for South Carolina.
Yeah, people are, and hope I'm getting an echo. I don't know if y'all are hearing that on your end as well, but I think the thing with Parker White is that basically he's been so good for so long, like so solid for so long at least, that I think people sort of just kind of don't think about it because it's solidified. That spot is solidified. I think you look at Parker, and the big thing with him has just been to lock in on some of those longer field goals and to be a little bit more consistent on those. Or I've said this for actually years now, for the staff to make better decisions in not asking a guy to kick 52-yard field goals if that's not his strength. Parker White from what, 50 and in, from like 49 down, is literally one of the most accurate kickers I have ever seen play at South Carolina, if not the most accurate in those scenarios. So to me, and clearly he has the leg to hit him from longer, but we've just seen the accuracy has gone down over time. Now, I'm sure Parker White has been focused on that. I'm sure that's something they've been working on. But if that is an issue this year, I think you have part of that is just putting your guys in better situations. So, but to answer your question, it hasn't been talked about much. I think some of that is just Parker's the veteran now, and you kind of know what you get out of him. He's going to hit pretty much all of his PATs. And if it's a mid-range field goal and in, he's probably going to knock it through, which is a nice luxury if you're Pete Limbo coming in and you're trying to put your tweaks and stuff on the special teams. Probably really nice to just have that guy coming back for you.
I want to mention this real quick. Mike Yuva just tweeted a couple of minutes ago. I just think this is one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen. Buddy Pugh, of course, used to coach the Gamecocks. He has long been the head coach at South Carolina State. Mike Yuva just tweeted out, quote, "For the past 20 years, Buddy Pugh has purchased season tickets for the Gamecocks. Although he hasn't been able to go to the games, he'll be headed to Columbia to show Coach Shane Beamer and USC his support. He's been giving these tickets to fans all these years." I think that is so cool. So thanks, Coach Pugh, and maybe help build some of those facilities. Speaking of helping build those facilities, the fans, Wes, you interact with fans every day at Gamecock Central. Some of them are loose cannons. A lot of them aren't. But at the end of the day, they're all invested in Gamecock athletics. And this isn't a shot necessarily at the former coaching staff, because I always had personally great interactions with Will Muschamp. I truly respect him, and I wish him the best. And I thank him for being so great to me on a personal level. I mean, in his South Carolina. But let's just all be honest. It was a long 5 years. Carolina fans were frustrated. They were done. They were stretched thin. This is a fresh start. What will this game, this atmosphere be like, do you think, on Saturday night? Checking the pulse of the Gamecock Central fans, I guess, is what I'm asking you. How does this feel differently from what has been felt the last at least couple of years for Gamecock football?
Well, I think the fan base, I don't think I'm exaggerating this. I think they have some hope again. I think towards the end, especially as we got closer and closer to the end last year, it just felt like the hope had been completely just zapped out of the fan base. And, and I don't want to say it was all bad during the Muschamp era. I think generally as a fan base, people tend to look back and just look at how it ended. There was a time early on where this team was exceeding expectations. And I think everybody sort of let themselves be like, well, maybe this thing's going to work. Maybe Muschamp has sort of learned from some mistakes at Florida. The recruiting is in a pretty good place. And, you go into that, what I guess it was the fourth season, and there were some pretty high expectations going into that season. And then, that just, I think, ill-fated comment where Muschamp said, this is my best team, I'm 90% sure was going into that fourth year. And then sort of everything fell off. And then, you had a 4-win season. Expectations were just in the dirt going into last year. And then you have a 2-win season as well. So by the end, there's a reason they made a change. And the reason they made a change in the middle of a pandemic with a big old buyout was just because the fan base was disengaged. I mean, I can't tell, and that's not a shot at them. I don't blame them. I had buddies that I've known for 10 years who have probably watched every single South Carolina game during the entire 10 years I've known them, who were literally texting me at the end of last year saying, I'm not watching the game. So when you're talking about one of the most loyal, most loud, fervent fan bases anywhere, and that's the mindset, a change has to be made. So I think Beamer has re-energized them. I think everybody's excited to see it started. I think everybody's excited just to see a new offense, a new defense, new special teams, some new players, just to have a fresh look, a fresh feel, to have a full stadium again. All those things are very exciting. And I will say this, I think the fan base has actually had a pretty level approach to the nuance of being excited about the future of the program while being realistic about this season. Most people I've talked to don't say, oh, we think it's going to be a 10-win, 11 wins. I don't think that's realistic, y'all. It's just not at this point. But you can still be excited about having some hope again and excited about the long-term prospects of the season. Now, there will still be a vocal, very small minority of people that the first time things go bad on Saturday, and there will be some ugly moments on Saturday. That's the case with every single week 1 game in the history of football, that will let their frustrations be known. But for the most part, my vibe is that the fan base is excited about the future and just excited to get a glimpse of everything this season, with the expectation that if they can go to a bowl game, that's probably a pretty good year.
I think a lot of people will look on the sidelines and I'm when I say this, I'm being serious. I think a lot of people will look on the sidelines on Saturday night and we'll let you run on this note, Wes, but I think they'll see themselves walking up and down there. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of people look at Shane Beamer, they look at Eric Kimry, they look at Pat DeMarco, they look at Justin Stepp, Byron Gerardo, Shaq Wilson, all these guys who are going to be out there. They look at these guys and they know that those guys feel the same way they do about what's on the field. And
yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've been asked when I do some of these national radio deals, and they ask me, what does the fan base think of Shane Beamer? And the quote I keep sort of going back to, the phrase is one of us, because I feel like the fan base looks at Beamer and says, that guy's one of us. And, I think there's a little clip when Beamer ran out to 2001 during the spring game where he was sort of just looking around and taking it all in. And I put that right up there with when he was taking the pictures out of the plane window as he was flying over Williams-Brice for the first time, when he was about to be head coach and announced as head coach. And there just hasn't been this sort of sense of, oh, I'm a head football coach and I'm bigger than this place. Or there hasn't been an ego from a personal level. It's been more of appreciation of the position he is in, I think. And I think fans sense that, man. I think they feel that. And I think it goes a long way. I think Beamer, I imagine in his head or outwardly, he's going to play it cool and he's going to run out there and he's going to be confident. But there's probably a little bit of him that's going to run out to 2001 on Saturday and is going to feel like a little kid, running out or watching South Carolina play Virginia Tech back in the day when his dad was a coach at Virginia Tech. So I'm sure that will be a very special moment for Shane Beamer.
No question. There's no question about that. We'll let you run. It's going to be a great week for Gamecock Central. Gamecock football is underway 7 o'clock Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. 2 o'clock this afternoon, GC Live, correct?
Yes, sir. We'll be there.
What are you talking about? Soccer? Volleyball?
My co-ed softball team. Not much going on.
Tough squad this year, I hear. Wes, hopefully next week when we're talking, Gamecocks are 1-0 next Monday. That's certainly the hope, and then we'll start to peek ahead at East Carolina. Hey, brother, thank you so much. Have a great week.
Y'all have a good one.
There you go. Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. Time for a timeout. An hour is in the books when we return. How about the Dogs and the Tigers in Charlotte coming up on Saturday night? We'll get into that, the Braves, golf, a couple other news and notes to pass along from college football. Jeff Hartsell at 1:30 today with the Post and Courier. The Citadel is ready to get up to Coastal on Thursday night, maybe try to surprise a folk or two. We'll get his thoughts on that game and more right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Low Country. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit StonoFerryGolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. StonoFerryGolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour this Monday afternoon. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. College football season powered by Wando Power Equipment. WandoPower.com for anything and literally everything you could possibly dream of that will take care of your property or your neighbor's property or your rental property or anything. Zero-turn mowers, weed eaters, whatever it is. It's Wando Power Equipment. They power and keep the lights on for us here through football season. A lot of energy comes through this show over the next few months as we're all set to go here. Darren Goldwater, me, JB, here till 2 o'clock. Jeff Hartsell again at 1:30. JBandGoldwaterShow.com. Make sure you've downloaded the app and make sure you follow us on social media as well at JB and Goldwater. A couple of things we will hit on with Jeff. Citadel had a player arrested over the weekend as well. We'll get to that. And then just another awful tragedy. A Charleston Southern football player killed in a shooting this weekend downtown Charleston. So just terrible news. But we'll touch some of that with Jeff Hartsell coming up here in just a bit. Thank you, Clint. Yes, for those that may not have heard, coming up Friday at 1 o'clock, the first Big Old Cock preview show, proudly brought to you by Motley Rice and served by Whiskey Jam right here on JB and Goldwater. Darren, myself, Michael Flint, JC Sherbert will preview each week's ball game. It's from 1 till 2, and then that show is immediately available afterwards. Even if you don't want to listen to the whole 2 hours for some reason, which we would encourage you to do so, because the first hour is picks with Raphael and betting lines and all that stuff. If you just want the Gamecock stuff, it'll all be cut up and distributed into your if you're on the Big Street email list, which I think there's well into the 5 figures on that. So you can get it there. You can always find it where you find all of ours now. It'll be available in podcast form. You can head to our website. You can go to our app. You can go to social media. You can watch or listen on your way to the game on Saturday, on Friday night while you're enjoying a cocktail, watching North Carolina and Virginia Tech, wherever you want to. If you happen to miss it, you literally can find it anywhere. And Darren is going to have that special hour cut. It'll totally be reproduced and things of that nature. I think you're going to really enjoy this. So looking forward to the Big Old Cock preview show coming up at 1 o'clock on Friday, right here on JB and Goldwater. Before we go any further, I do want to mention some of the high school scores from the weekend as well, Darren. We all know that Wando won. That's no shocker there. Pretty ugly game, but they did win 25-9. So if you had the 5 and 9 betting squares, congratulations. Who the hell ever has
18-9 at one point. There were 2 safety. I think there were more safeties in the third and fourth quarter than there were first downs. I'm exaggerating, but barely.
It was ugly, but they won. They won.
They did.
You know, when you play ugly and you win by 16, that's pretty good. Elsewhere, as it pertains to low country teams, there certainly are some notables from around the state as well. Gaffney handled Somerville 35-7, a late pickup there, obviously, for the Green Wave making the trip up to Gaffney, South Carolina, but the Indians get a pretty dominating win against Somerville High School. And up there, by the way, in Rock Hill, Northwestern handled Rock Hill 48-14. So congratulations to Paige Wofford, the coach at Northwestern. How about Philip Simmons, man? Eric Bendig is doing a hell of a job. They're 2-0. They own that Georgetown Waccamaw region because they beat Georgetown last week. They beat Waccamaw this week, 36-14. Blythewood hit Goose Creek on the head this weekend, 22-7 there. Goose Creek had to travel to Blythewood, and that ball game did not go in their favor. First Baptist beat Cardinal Newman 48-25, so congratulations to Johnny and his guys. Fort Dorchester 58-26 over Carolina Forest. Another game scheduled late in the week. Obviously, some of the COVID stuff causing problems there, but pretty dominating win for the Patriots this weekend. What am I missing here? OCA loses at Gray Collegiate 33-22 this weekend. Not able to get all of our scores in, boys and girls, but certainly a bunch of the notables. Ashley Ridge did beat BE this weekend 20-3. Perry Orth and AC Flora 13-0 over the Sumter Gamecocks this weekend. That was probably a little tough for him to have to beat the Gamecocks, but they did it 13-0. So congratulations there. Abbeville all over Newberry this weekend, 35-6. Abbeville once again has got a strong football program. So there you go. A couple of the news and notes to pass along from this weekend. I don't think there's anything that I really missed. Spartanburg fell to Malden 14.
Yeah, and maybe I haven't looked at the whole slate. Maybe the game of the week in high school football will be televised, at least down here locally, and simulcast on Stadium as well. It's Dorman at Fort Dorchester. That's our scheduled game for this Friday.
Ooh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That will be awesome.
Yes.
Fort D. Welcome. And the quarterback out there at Fort Chester, Zoltan Osborne, he's a player.
Yeah, I remember.
He's a player.
Yeah, I remember when he was a freshman. I'm not sure. I think he's a junior now. Maybe he's a senior now. But I remember when he was a freshman and Steve LaPrade was just heaping praise on him. I mean, there was a guy ahead of him, but it's really the first pocket passing. Now, he can move. I'm not saying he can't move, but it's the first pocket quarterback they've had in a while, right? I mean, Joyner started that run of athletic quarterbacks. This guy is more of a prototypical pro style, if you will, stand up there, big kid, big arm, more of that guy.
Yeah, he's a player. I've talked to his mom before too. Really nice lady, great family. So we'll see what happens when Dorman University comes to town. Anybody's never seen Dorman, it's something to see from I-26. The Braves 4.5 up in the East. Yesterday they did pound the San Francisco Giants. Welcome back, Ian Anderson. What a day on the mound. The Braves got their 70th win of the season as well. Austin Riley hit another home run. So did Jorge Soler. And again, 4.5 games up tonight at 10:10 on ESPN, by the way. They'll be out in LA to take on the Dodgers. So they're holding their own right now in this whole stretch. Took 2 of 3 from the Giants over the weekend. I think you pair that with the Yankees. They're 2 and 3 in these 5. Now they got the Dodgers coming up. And we kind of talked to Corey last week about, hey, is 500 a good record in this little stretch here? They're going to have to go to Colorado next, and he seemed to think that'd be okay. They might be able to maintain that lead, and right now, again, 4.5 up.
Yeah, and it's your first look at the new look Dodgers and how you stack up against the team that many think is now the World Series favorite. They should be. They're absolutely loaded. So, like Corey said, like you just mentioned, I mean, how are you just going to navigate this? It's a good litmus test, if you will, of where you stand right now with about 40 games left against teams that you will probably see if you can stay alive in the playoffs.
Can you beat them in a series? That's what it comes down to. That's what the playoffs is, and they
just
did do that this week.
Series from the Giants, so that counts.
That's right, 9-0. In golf this weekend, wow, 27 under. Cantlay and DeChambeau. Of course, Cantlay wins it in the epic playoff with with Bryson. $1.7 million is what Cantlay won here. And now Patrick Cantlay he's at the top of the leaderboard, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
We'll start with a 2-stroke lead on Thursday at the Tour Championship. It's him. Then I believe it's DeChambeau. Yeah, Finau, and then DeChambeau right after that.
Yeah. I was trying to pull that up to make sure I didn't misspeak here, but so Cantlay's in the driver's seat, so he'll start at 10 under, and then Finau will start at 8 under, and DeChambeau 7 under.
7, yes, I believe, and then it goes down.
It goes through the top 10, right?
It goes through at least the top. I want to say 15, and then the rest of them start like any normal round would be even. There's only 30 guys who are playing this. I'll verify that right now.
Well, I know that the top 30. So this sucker cut off at Patrick Reed. So Patrick Reed snuck in there at 30. Darren is what I'm assuming here. DJ's in, Rory's in, and whoever wins this will win it. Whoever wins this tournament will win the FedEx Cup this year. Cantlay, of course, again in the driver's seat. With 4,300 points currently. 3 wins, by the way, this year for Patrick Cantlay, so probably rightfully at the top of the standings. Finau, DeChambeau, Rahm 4th, Cameron Smith, Justin Thomas at 6, Harris English, Abraham Answer, Jordan Spieth, and Sam Burns round out the top 10. I don't know how many people will be paying attention to it this weekend with college football getting underway, but it'll be fun.
I'll definitely be paying attention to both football and to this. Yesterday,
good news is the final round will play Sunday.
Yes. Yesterday was awesome golf. I mean, really, the last 2 weeks and the first 2 weeks of the FedEx Cup playoffs, it's everything you want if you're golf. Without massive star power that Tiger is, this is everything you want right now in these. I mean, the playoff yesterday was absurd. It was a 6-hole playoff. Cantlay, I think they had it 3 different times that DeChambeau had an opportunity to win. Cantlay, staved that off. I mean, he's draining putts from everywhere yesterday, and he's not typically a great putter, but it was one of the all-time great performances round 1 through the finale yesterday in terms of shots gained on the green. It was about 3.6 shots gained on the field per round for Cantlay this week. I mean, that's why he ended up winning that thing.
That's old school Tigerish there. Mm-hmm. Wow. Holy moly. All right, we'll keep our eyes on it. Remember, no NFL this weekend. They got the week off, only 3 preseason weeks. And then so you get college football, you got golf this weekend. Figure it out. Pull out the bees, folks. Speaking of college football, we at the top of the show obviously talked about what's coming on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then we all know what will start to come on a national level on Saturday. And that will be headlined by the game, if you're watching on the screen here, 5th-ranked Georgia, 3rd-ranked Clemson. Darren, and it's preseason presumptively the most difficult game that Clemson will play this year. We'll speak to Grace Rayner a little bit later on this week and previewing this ball game for the Tigers. So the conversation has been for months. If they lose, what does that mean? And I think you and I have both agreed that it does not mean that they're out of the college football playoff, because 11-1, you win the ACC championship 12-1. They're with as good as Clemson is, the eyeball test included. They're going to be in there. But if you lose, the wiggle room is out the door. If you lose again, you very well could be on the outside looking in. And based on recent college football playoff scenarios, they probably would be on the inside looking in. So, throughout the week, we're obviously going to talk about the game. You and I are going to pick it on Friday and things like that. There's a thought that you could, because there's a lot of QB. Some people have Spencer Rattler as the best quarterback in the country. Some people have Sam Howell. Some people have JT Daniels. Some people have DJ Uiagalelei. I think those are the 4 probably that are headlining. Some people think Bryce Young, maybe. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of quarterbacks who we've seen enough from to know, okay, these are the top quarterbacks in the country, but we've also seen enough from them to know, even though some of them are young, like Uiagalelei, like Bryce Young, well, they could be the top quarterback or the top player in the country, which, of course, would win you the Heisman Trophy. So I think that there's a sense, I think Clemson right now is favored in this game by 3.
Yes.
There's a sense that because of the talent on both sides of or on the defensive side of the football, you might see a little bit of a lower scoring game. I think the over-under is somewhere around 51, 52, 51 and a half, somewhere in there. If you ask me today, I'd go over that. It's week 1, man. And I don't think either one seems. Georgia's got guys out. Eric Gilbert, I don't think is going to play in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But weird things happen in week 1. I'm leaning towards this is going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game. And if Georgia wins the game, they have less hurdles to clear to an SEC championship game than Alabama does. Okay, based on their schedule.
Yep.
If Georgia wins the game, Darren, what does this do for the Dogs? I mean, isn't this okay? Aren't we going to start hearing it Sunday if they win the game? Oh, national title contenders.
Well, yeah. So that started happening this weekend. So if you wanted a little taste of college game day, you got it this weekend before whichever game they had, whatever classic game they had. There was a lot of Georgia love. Now, David Pollock is on that set, but there is a lot of Georgia love that came from that set. So the thought is that Georgia's the team to beat in the East. We know that. If they go out and look very good and beat Clemson, then immediately the team that's ranked number 5 in the country in the preseason, immediately the talk will be, yeah, they can run the table and get to Alabama. That's going to be the discussion if they look very good against Clemson. If they look very good against Clemson, the other discussion is going to be, okay, what's Clemson have this year? I think there's obviously the thought of, well, it's clearly Clemson and the rest of the ACC, but just gauging from the chatter on Saturday, it seems like there is a thought, maybe more of a hope, but there's a thought that North Carolina is starting to close that gap a little bit. I think there are questions because the last time we saw Clemson, they didn't look good. And the word out of camp, and we'll have Grace Rayner on Thursday, is that's been a lot of a chip on the shoulder, and the defense has been, keyed in all offseason, ready to roll, something to prove. Okay, let's see it. This isn't your average opener. This is a show-me time for Clemson. This is the best chance Clemson has to impress you on a national level this year, and it's Saturday. It's a huge, huge game from a perception standpoint.
If Georgia wins, do they go undefeated in the regular season?
Yes, they do.
All right, so if they go undefeated in the regular season, they get to the SEC championship game. We're all right now presuming that they'll see Alabama. Maybe they don't. Nonetheless, doesn't matter. I don't care who's on the west side. Whoever, if you get to the SEC championship game over Alabama, you're good. So if they go undefeated, they get to the SEC championship game, they lose.
Mm-hmm.
You think they'd still be in the playoff? Because here's what I'm thinking. I think the answer to that would be yes, and here's why. I think if Georgia wins the game, and don't see, the good news for Alabama is they play Miami, which is a respectable opponent. So if they win, they're going to stay 1.
They're 19-point favorites.
They are. Oh, I get it, but they're not unless it's like a 6-3 game, which it won't be.
Mm-hmm.
If Bama beats Miami, they're not dropping out of number 1. They'll stay at number 1. But if Georgia beats Clemson, I think they go from 5 to 2 in a hurry. And I think if you get to 2, even if Bama wins every game this year, they don't play in the regular season like they did last year, and you go undefeated and you lose in the SEC championship game. These are all hypothetical late August conversations. I get it. I'm not projecting any of this. I'm just saying if that happens, I would see a similar situation to what just happened, Clemson and Notre Dame, where Notre Dame got beat in the ACC championship game, but it wasn't enough to knock them all the way out of 4. And I think Georgia would be in. I think this game is their playoff.
It's the best chance Clemson has to impress, but at least Georgia has other chances. If they get to the SEC championship game undefeated and lose, odds are very good based on recent history. An SEC team that's undefeated losing in the SEC championship game, that team's probably getting in. You just got to see how the year plays. Like, how good is the SEC East? Is there going to be another conference that can, after we see the body of work, say, you know what, we're on par with the SEC, and if you lose that championship game, you're not in? We don't know the answer to that. Based on history, if Georgia goes undefeated and gets to the SEC championship game and loses to whoever beats them, they're probably in the college football playoff anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what because when you look, UAB, this is today.
Mm-hmm.
Could all change. Georgia could get some big injury. Somebody could be better than we think. Weird thing. Carolina beat them over there 2 years ago. How to this day that happened, I still don't know. I'm not projecting that. I'm just saying things can happen. And Georgia under Kirby has been close but no cigar. But after Clemson, UAB, it's a win. South Carolina, it's a win. Vanderbilt, it's a win. Arkansas, if they were playing that game in Little Rock or in Fayetteville or in Little Rock even, because Arkansas does get a game a year in Little Rock, I'd say, well, okay, careful. They get that game in Athens. Love Sam Pittman. He was with Georgia for a long time. Knows the program. It's going to mean a lot to him to play that game. They're not going to beat him. At Auburn, probably a better than average chance that Georgia could lose in that game, or an average chance, maybe, if you want to put it that way.
Georgia should be significantly better than Auburn. I mean,
exactly.
it's a road game, so the environment and all, I hear you. But Georgia should be regardless of the outcome Saturday, significantly better than Auburn.
I totally agree. I look, I don't think Auburn's that good. And I know, okay, Tank Bigsby's back and Bo Nix is back and whatever. I don't know, man. Maybe they come up and surprise all of us, and that would certainly be me included. I'd absolutely eat these words. Yeah, I don't know. Something's off. Something's off over there. I don't know what it is. Something just doesn't feel right.
Did you? I think you're the one who retweeted it. In the football ops building at Auburn, Hartson has a sign in the elevator, injured players only.
Dude.
I don't know how many floors are in that ops building, but everyone's got to walk except for injured players. I mean,
come on, man.
Dude, it's not like it's cool in Auburn, Alabama over the summer. I prefer the elevator.
I think she's stupid. I mean, that's just dumb. Like, I understand the coach speak and the these methods of earning it, and you see this crap, t-shirt slogans, earn it, stuff like that. I get all that. You put an elevator in there for a reason. I mean, just who cares?
You're practicing probably pretty hard, right? So what's the point of making people walk up the stairs? Right? What are you earning by walking up the stairs?
Look, man, you want to make guys earn things, make them earn an off day and things like that.
Yeah.
Walking up the stairs, that's just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just doesn't, something's off. Mm-hmm. But Auburn, Georgia, it's a hell of a rivalry. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And, it's hard to go to Auburn and win. So, all right, but if you ask me, it's a win. Kentucky, I'm pretty sure it's a win, but let's see. People like Kentucky. Let's see what they look like in mid-October. If you had me pick today who wins, Georgia or Florida in Jacksonville, Georgia wins. But don't count out Dan Mullen, man. He's a great football coach, and we'll see what Emory Jones has at quarterback this year. But here's my point. Missouri, Tennessee, Charleston Southern, Georgia Tech, they're all wins. I get it, though. Who's capable of beating Georgia? Are they capable of losing at Tennessee? Probably not, because I don't think Tennessee's defense is very good. But could Tennessee have a hell of a night and light up the scoreboard? Yeah. So I would lean towards no, but it's not like a hard no. Are they capable of getting beat by Missouri? I think if Connor Bazelak has a great day, they're capable of losing that game. Is it a projection? No. Is it more like 90-10? Yeah, but they're capable. Kentucky, Florida, at Auburn, like the Arkansas kind of, hey, if it all goes wrong like it did against South Carolina 2 years ago, you could lose.
There you go. If it all goes wrong. Georgia will lose a game on their schedule if Georgia beats Georgia.
Right.
Not if another team. Unless Florida is the exception here. And Clemson, of course. Clemson, we're talking after the Clemson game, right? So the rest of the schedule, Georgia's going to have to contribute to Georgia's loss other than Florida. That's to me, that's the way the schedule looks right now. Florida potentially has the ability to just straight up beat Georgia. The rest, Georgia's going to need to contribute to that loss. That's why if they beat Clemson, I do think they end up going undefeated.
I'm with you. I agree. I think if they win, I think if they beat Clemson, they would have zero reason to lose to anybody else on that schedule. Mm-hmm. Not saying it couldn't happen. Knowing Georgia probably will, but they wouldn't have a good reason for it. I get it. Somebody tweeted just a little while or sent us a message. I think it was Clint. Georgia has too many key guys out, basically referencing the game on Saturday.
Yeah, they got a tight end out. They got a defensive back out. Gilbert hasn't been around. Got a lineman too that's been banged up.
Yeah. Don't want to. I'm not saying about this to Clint. I don't want to hear it. Give me a break. Georgia's been recruiting in the top 5 every year for God knows how long. You got plenty of talent. Don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. Well, we didn't have these guys. You mean to tell me that when this game was scheduled, or I don't know, even 2 months ago, when everybody thought that Georgia could win the game anyways, before Eric Gilbert decided to commit to the Dogs, and all of a sudden he commits to the Dogs, and that's going to make it even better. And he's not playing. Well, we might lose now. Well, you thought you were going to win before he even committed to the program, so I don't want to hear it.
You were not short on storylines for this game. The Georgia side is out. There is some pressure. I don't know how heavy the pressure is, but if it's a bad year, it'll certainly be there. That's around Kirby Smart. Is this the year Georgia breaks through? This is a chance for them to prove that on a national level, prime time to kick off the season. The last time we saw Clemson, it wasn't impressive. There's a taste and a thought in your mouth and in your head of, I don't know, is Clemson slipping even just a touch? Are the Tigers slipping? If they don't look good, there will be an overwhelming rush to judgment that the answer to that question is yes. If Georgia beats them convincingly, there will be a very quick rush to judgment that Clemson is absolutely slipping, and this isn't the same program it was even 2-3 years ago. But if Clemson wins the game, then you've got our one chance in the regular season on a national level to prove ourselves, we proved it. You put that story to rest for the rest of the year, unless you do something stupid and lose an ACC game.
It's very well said. I think it's very, very well said. Actually, there will be a rush to judgment if they get beat, but I think that's I think that is what people should be fearful of. That is a motivating factor in that building up in the upstate for a while, and Dabo has been pounding that up there big time. We'll have to see coming up on Saturday night. All right, got to hit our final timeout on this Monday afternoon. Haven't heard much about the Citadel. It's been pretty quiet downtown. Jeff Hartsell covers them with the Post and Courier. Dogs, Chanticleers coming up on Thursday night. We'll look at that game and the Citadel season and more with Jeff right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Final segment, Monday afternoon. Welcome back, the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, stokesvw.com. JB, Darren, and Jeff Hartsell with the Post and Courier joining us now, and I'm very happy about this, Mr. Hartsell, because we've been trying to dig around on the Citadel football for a while and can't seem to get any information out of downtown. So maybe you've got some for us. What's up, man?
Yup. We got to Jeff. We thought we had him. We're going to get him back.
Did he hit the mute button?
He must have hit the mute button.
Oh, I think he realized we were talking about the Citadel, and he's like, well, crap, I don't have any of that either. Figure this out. Jeff will join us here in a minute. By the way, speaking of the Post and Courier, and just a horrible incident this weekend, and our thoughts and prayers, as we mentioned earlier, are with Charleston Southern University, and Lorvins Florestal is his name, a walk-on football player with the Buccaneers. He was shot and killed downtown Charleston on Saturday night, in West Ashley around 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night. There's an updated story on this at the postandcourier.com, and I would suggest that you go check that out. It was a pretty awful scene here. So certainly thoughts and prayers are with the Florestal family, who is from Delray Beach, Florida, and the Buccaneers family, obviously, up there in North Charleston. We have Jeff now, right?
I believe so.
Yes, I'm here. I was
good
trying to find my way into the Post and Courier's new building. And
Oh,
I finally cracked the code.
I didn't
Very
know there
nice.
was a new building.
Yes, we have moved from our longtime home on Columbus Street down to near right across from John Lewis Barbecue.
Oh,
It's the old Blue Acorn building.
yeah.
It's kind of hip. It's kind of too hip for the Post and Courier, but it's nice.
Yeah, no, I was just down there a little while ago because that's also there's a home team barbecue right there too. You're not going to get any work done.
That's what I was about to say.
You're going to be out there just gorging.
Well, I've been working from home, but I might have to change that and start working from the office.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that they gave you a key to get in, so that's a good start. But I'm with Darren. He took the words out of my mouth. Who's going to actually go to work down there when you're walking past all those smells every day?
I know, it's great. So, really, this is my first time visiting, so it's really nice.
Well, we're glad that you're visiting with us. As I was saying when we thought we had you the first time, we're pretty happy to have you because we've been trying to dig up anything and everything we could find on the Citadel, and there's not a lot of information that they're letting out down there. So, do you know anything?
It's been camp lockdown this fall. No non-essential personnel allowed. So I haven't even seen them practice, which is very unusual. So we'll find out on Thursday at 7 o'clock at Brooks Stadium in Conway what they're going to look like. But I tell you, it hasn't been a great start to game week for the Citadel, unfortunately. We had the incident this weekend. I don't know if you saw it. A football player was arrested on campus for domestic violence, starting cornerback on the team. And then today we find out the starting B-back Logan Billings is out for a while with an injured arm. Don't know the extent of the injury. That happened just the other day. So not the greatest of starts to game week for the Citadel.
Saw the news on the arrest. That so what they'll just wait out the investigation here. But this young man is suspended from. Is it just the program or suspended from school as well?
He's suspended from school.
Okay.
So he's not with the program right now. He's not in school right now. The arrest report should be released today. We'll find out some more incidents, but really, he's been an impressive cadet throughout his career. I don't know if we want to get into his name right here, but he was the military team captain of the team. So very surprising. And with domestic abuse or violence, you never know what might lead up to that. We always want to believe the victim and trust that she knows what she's talking about. But we'll just have to see how it plays out in this case.
Okay. All right. So we'll certainly keep our eyes on that. All right. So let's start with COVID. Any news on the vaccination rate for the Citadel, Jeff? And what's the SoCon policy?
At last report, the Citadel was up above 70% vaccination on the football team. Not quite where they'd like to be, I'm sure, but they're working on it and they're making progress every week. The SoCon is like most other leagues. If you can't play because of COVID, you forfeit. And so that's the new policy this year. There'll be no makeup games or anything like that. So they fall in line with most of the other conferences. As far as I can tell, COVID really hasn't been an issue in keeping a lot of guys out of practice or out of Thursday's game.
Oh, well, they're going to need everybody they can get because Coastal Carolina is pretty good. So what do we know about what returns for the Dogs? I mean, they just played a few months ago, and I know they felt like towards the end of the spring season made some strides, Jeff, but at least starting on the offensive side of the football, what do we know at this point?
Well, as you recall, last spring they had COVID opt-outs. and they had some injuries, and they also had the bookstore fiasco.
Oh, yeah.
Where a lot of guys had to serve suspensions for improper purchases at the bookstore, of all things. But most of that bookstore fiasco is behind them. There is at least one player who'll have to sit out Thursday because he did not play in the spring, so he could not serve his suspension in the spring. So he'll serve a 1-game suspension on Thursday. But really, you mentioned the offense, and just in general, this is one of the most experienced teams, especially on defense, that I can remember the Citadel having. On defense, they have 1 grad student, 4 seniors, and 4 juniors in the starting lineup. And then both of the sophomores who are starting played a lot in the spring. So it's really one of the more experienced and I'd say talented defensive units they have, when you consider they have Willie Eubanks, an All-American, Anthony Britton, an all-SoCon linebacker, both back, and then Chris Beverly, an all-conference safety, is back. So the defense is going to have to carry the Bulldogs, for a little while the offense gets their feet under them, I think, for the Bulldogs to have a good season.
From what you know about Coach Thompson, with everything being shut down in the fall, how much, I guess, what do you expect to see? How much different do you expect them to look? What type of tricks might come out of the bag? What type of creations might we see with the Citadel team, or what's the reason for keeping everything closed?
Well, as you recall, they did play 4 games in the fall, and then 8 more in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So 12 games altogether. They went 2-10 over that period. But they did manage to beat Wofford and Furman in the spring, so that was something they could hang their hat on. But as far as changes, I expect not many at all. Brent Thompson is a do-what-we-do kind of guy. We just have to do it better. And he's not going to vary from the triple option at all. Maybe a couple of gadget plays he didn't want anybody to get a look at. But they're not going to come out and run the air raid at Coastal Carolina. So they're going to run the triple option. This Coastal game, just 5 years ago, they beat Coastal in the FCS playoffs, and so much has changed since then. Of course, Coastal hired Jamie Chadwell. They moved to FBS and the Sun Belt Conference, and now they're a top 25 team in the country. So this is not the same Coastal program that the Citadel beat in the playoffs a couple years ago. And this is the Citadel's money game, right? They're going to get $350,000 for this game. It's like playing Clemson or South Carolina, basically. So that's what this game means in the Citadel schedule. They'll do the best they can up in Conway, hope to pull an upset, but the outcome of that game doesn't really have a lot to say about how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah. I'll for all those that get offended by this, I just want you to all know I know how to have fun too. The only difference in your comments, Jeff, or the comments that you just made, just like Clemson or South Carolina, there's one big difference. They have a pretty good chance of beating South Carolina when they schedule them. Unfortunately, when they schedule these other teams, they don't. See, I can take shots at my own guys. We have fun around here.
They've had a little bit better luck against South Carolina than they have Clemson. And a big part of that is the triple option. That offense enabled them to tie Alabama at halftime, enabled them to beat South Carolina, enabled them to beat Georgia Tech. The problem at Coastal Carolina is Jamie Chadwell and Chad Staggs. They know all about the triple option. They had good success at Charleston Southern against the Citadel, so one can only imagine with the level of players they have now at Coastal how well they will do on defense against this triple option.
All right, so Jeff, let's take ourselves back to last fall when we were all trying to figure out what football was going to look like, who was going to play, who wasn't going to play. You and Darren just exchanged words a couple of moments ago about the fact that the Dogs did play 4 games last fall, and then, as you mentioned, they played 8 this spring. So if we take ourselves back a year, remember the conversations we were having, right? Everybody was having them. For the FCS guys specifically, and others, obviously, but the FCS was moving to the spring. Is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? Well, now here we are about to start football in the fall. How has the Citadel evaluated what happened in the spring? Has it helped them? Has it hurt them? What do we know?
Well, I think it's helped them, if you ask Brent Thompson. It didn't help his record, unfortunately. But I think it helped the team when you look at a situation like the quarterback, Jalen Adams. In a normal world, Jalen would have been the backup to Brandon Rainey last fall for 11 or 12 games and served in that role while Brandon played his final season. And then in the spring, Jalen would have had spring practice to make all his mistakes and to run his learning curve heading into the fall season. The way it turned out, Jalen had to play 8 games in the spring on TV and in front of people and make all his spring practice mistakes in games that counted, is the way I look at it. So, but I think that also could have accelerated his learning curve. So I think Jalen will be a long way further up the track than he was starting last spring.
Jeff Hartsell, 145 on this Monday afternoon. You know, Brent is a great guy. I don't know of anybody that's ever interacted with Brent Thompson that doesn't go when they talk about him. He's a solid dude. But you mentioned his record. I mean, he's had some tough moments over the last few years. What is his future like right now? How much of that hinges on this season?
Well, I think this is an important season for Brent. I think you can put an asterisk next to last year and not hold that against him too much. In the fall, they played 3 FBS teams, including Clemson, and they played 1 home game. And they came close to beating Army on the road. So that was last fall. In the spring, they did manage to beat Wofford and Furman. So I think it's hard to hold the last year against any coach, really, although Carolina held it against their coach.
Yeah.
But this is an important year coming up. Since they won a SoCon championship in his first season, they've basically been a 500 team until last year. And that is not where they want to be. They want to be in the upper division of the SoCon. They want to be competing for a conference championship. So with this amount of experience back on defense and with players like Raleigh Webb and Willie Eubanks, who are borderline, NFL prospects, they need to take a step forward and into the upper division of the SoCon this season, in my opinion.
I mean, Mike Houston built a hell of a program, and obviously, he's trying to do the same thing now. Again at ECU, the guy's won everywhere he's been, and just in the small group of Citadel folks that I know, Jeff, I think that everybody kind of feels the same. Man, we really love Brent, but he took over a Ferrari, and we're kind of riding around in a beat up station wagon out there at times. So, how much of that talk do you hear? What do you hear?
I don't know if the Citadel's ever been a Ferrari, but.
Well, they felt like it was.
What's the next level down, Darren, from Ferrari?
Oh, you could be a Porsche. You could be a BMW, maybe. That's a good, solid
Volkswagen Atlas.
They've been a late model sports car at times.
Okay.
So,
like an '88 Porsche Carrera.
And Brent, I think he's got 1 or 2 years left on his contract. He hasn't got an extension lately. So this is a key season for Brent Thompson, and I think they have the pieces to make some progress. The problem is the SoCon never gets any easier. Now you got VMI winning championships. VMI used to be a W on the Citadel schedule, and so the league only gets tougher. You got Chattanooga, Wofford, and Furman will be trying to come back off disappointing springs. So the league is not going to be any easier this year. In fact, probably a bit tougher now that VMI has emerged as a solid team under Scott Wachenheim.
Is there staying power for VMI, or is that a flash in the pan?
No, I think there is staying power. They lost their quarterback. He transferred to Maryland, and the freshman they put in behind him was even better. So, and they have a 6'5" receiver, Jacob Harris, who's just a nightmare matchup. He's back for his final season. So I think Scott Wachenheim has built a pretty good program up there at VMI, and they are not a flash in the pan.
Jeff, Saturday, September the 11th, not to discount the Coastal game at all for Citadel football fans. I mean, I think most people understand what's coming on Thursday on ESPN Plus up there in Conway. But September the 11th is that crosstown rivalry again against Charleston Southern, and this thing had some real fireworks a few years back. It's good that this game is played. Autry Denson is a great football coach and a great man, and he's got the Bucs headed in the right direction. How much of the success of this season you think will hinge on that game? Again, not to look past Coastal, but that CSU game, that's probably pretty important down there.
That's a key game. I mean, that will be much more of a portent of the season than the Coastal Carolina game. If the Citadel loses or struggles or looks bad against Charleston Southern, that does not bode well with the SoCon slate. But if they can take care of business against Charleston Southern, which will not be easy. I mean, the Citadel, if Charleston Southern had played the right quarterback a couple of years ago at Johnson-Hagan Stadium, the Citadel might have lost that game. They brought Jack Chambers in late in the game, and he brought the Bucs back to a close game, and he is now the starting quarterback. So, yeah, I expect it to be a tough game, and I also expect it to be sort of a bellwether for how the Citadel season is going to go.
Give us some updates on everything that surrounds Citadel football, Jeff. Facilities, let's start there. How about the scoreboard, the turf, all that type stuff?
Of course, the turf was put in last summer, and the scoreboard is being completed as we speak now. They had a branding refresh, they call it, over the summer, where they came up with a couple of new logos and a new bulldog. The new Block C will not be put on the stadium turf until after this season, at least. They didn't want to try and do a hurry up job before the season started. So it will be the old Block C on the field at Johnson-Hagan Stadium. The main thing left to go at the stadium is the visitor side, which still has temporary bleachers. And they want to get that finished in a more permanent structure to match the home side. And they're still in the fundraising phase of that project, which has been going on for quite a while. But of course, COVID put a cramp in a lot of people's plans, and I think that didn't help the Citadel's efforts there either.
Yep. So they want both sides of the stadium to mirror each other. They want them to match.
No, the visitor side will be smaller, but they at least want a permanent structure over there with concession stands and maybe a few booths at the top. But right now, all they have is temporary bleachers like you might see at a high school field. So that's not satisfactory for anybody, and it will be fixed at some point, but it's been a while now that they've been working on that project, and not sure if they've gotten any closer yet. But they also had to get the scoreboard done. That was a necessity. The thing wouldn't work some of the time. The video board was fine, but the scoreboard itself would malfunction now and then. So needed to get that fixed, and they managed to do that.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You got to get wins any way you can, Jeff. Oh, did that say 37-10? We meant 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Hard to tell what down it is sometimes.
Oh, look, as long as it's in your favor, who cares? Is there a goal that's been announced for that new edition?
There has not. Huh. There has not.
Interesting. That surprises me, Jeff. I mean, you've been around the Citadel a long time. Is there a prouder alumni base anywhere in the world than at the Citadel? I mean, these people are everywhere. It doesn't matter. You can wear a Citadel shirt in Alaska, and somebody's going to find you and say, "Go Dogs" or something like that. That's a little surprising to me.
Well, maybe a little bit. They did have an alum step up with the new turf. That was about $1 million project. They've had alums step up with the scoreboard. I'm not sure what the price tag was on that, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap. And there's a lot of other things going on at the Citadel. A lot of building projects going on there. A new business building just went up. Capers Hall is being replaced. So there's a lot of demand for the Citadel alumni's dollars. And I think the Citadel Foundation is trying to divide it up as best they can. And we will see. I would expect within the next 3 or 4 years that would get done. over on the visitor side of the stadium.
I got an easy fix, boys and girls. Just reach out to the Big 12. They're looking for teams. Maybe the Citadel join that league. $40-50 million a year potentially. Final one, we'll let you run on this note. Jeff Hartsell, of course, with the Post and Courier. Again, I know it's been under lock and key down there, and there has not been much access to the football program. We're pretty much only going to finally get to see them on Thursday night on national television, at least ESPN Plus against Coastal Carolina. But in the midst of these changes, obviously at the top level of the sport, Jeff, you know what I'm talking about, these power leagues, are they going to break off? Or if they do break off, what happens to scheduling? Does it eliminate scheduling FCS opponents and things like that? I'm curious what your thoughts are, and if you've had any conversations with leadership at the Citadel as to what that would mean directly for them.
Well, if it ever came to pass that the FBS games, the so-called money games, were not available, that would be, you know, a damaging blow to FCS type programs. Those games are vital just in terms of the bottom line of the budget, you know, not even considering the recruiting value or publicity value of playing a team like Alabama or Clemson. They're just important to that year's budget, right? So if those go away, it would not be good for schools like the Citadel, that's for sure.
Well, just let the dogs know, you know, if you don't go beat South Carolina, they'll schedule you more often. You could get more money by losing.
You know, Jamie, I heard that it might be coming back on. I'm being serious here. Have you heard anything about coming back on their schedule in the next 4 or 5 years? I think I heard that.
Not real. Look, maybe a year or so ago, there was a comment or two made in passing to me about that, because I had made a joke about it, much like I've been doing here. And I thought to myself, no, that's not true. And I never thought about it again until you just said that. So that might be true. I mean, you know, look, I have a feeling that Shane Beamer is going to take a very similar approach that Steve Spurrier did. If you got to pay for a money game, try to keep that money in the state and help these teams out in the state. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's right. But, you know, I don't want to be all doom and gloom about the Citadel season, even though they've had a tough week so far. I think they have one of the most experienced teams they've had in a while, with all these super seniors coming back, graduate students like Raleigh Webb, who is almost 24 years old and working on his third degree. Willie Eubanks is back for his fifth season. Ryan McCarthy is back from the baseball team. He'll make a big difference across from Raleigh Webb at receiver. And as I mentioned, it's one of the most experienced and talented defenses I've seen in a while. So if the defense can play well while the offense figures a few things out, I think they have a chance to compete in the SoCon and late into the season. So really looking forward to this year.
Hey, they go 8-3, get in the playoffs. That's my prediction. 8-3, go Dogs.
There you go.
All right, Jeff. Thank you, man. We're going to have you back here soon. We might even try to get this scheduled weekly. We'd love to have you on with us more often.
All right, guys. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Later on, man.
Always thankful for you, Jeff Hartsell, one of the great writers out there with the Post and Courier. There's no doubt about that. And pretty good update there from the Citadel Dogs. Chanticleer is coming up on Thursday. That'll kick off your college football weekend as it pertains to the state of South Carolina. The rest of the week, let's see here. What do we – football probably. Looking forward to that. Mike Morgan, Gene Sapakoff, they'll join us. I don't know if we get Gene tomorrow or not. Shane Beamer will have his press conference at 1:15, so probably won't be able to tap into Gene tomorrow. We'll get him later on in the week. J.C. Sherbert certainly will be joining us as well. Michael Flint later on this week. J.C. Sherbert again later on this week. Why? Because at 1 o'clock on Friday, the Big Old Cock Preview Show, proudly brought to you by Motley Rice. We'll be right here from 1 until 2 p.m. to preview the Gamecocks and the Panthers of Eastern Illinois 2021. Right around the corner. Thank you so much to Jeff Hartsell, Wes Mitchell, and Perry Orth. Football season is back. Welcome. Thanks to Darren and all of you. Have a marvelous Monday afternoon. Yeah. Get those grocery lists underway, boys and girls. Don't forget your whiskey jam. Get to the liquor store. JB and Goldwater returns tomorrow at noon. And we'll see you then.